In this video, we're going to look at the Revolve tool, and to do that, we're going to make this ball bearing, which is kind of cool. It's obviously an assembly, and so we're going to assemble the three parts of the inner ring, the outer ring, and hopefully you can see that they are moving. To see the balls moving, I need to zoom in because they're a little harder to select. And we can select one of the balls. We hit move component, and in the way I've done this, all the balls move at the same time in that channel. So that's what we're going to do in this particular lesson. Okay, so to do that, we need to start making all the parts. I'm going to close that window and rebuild. And we're going to start from scratch. So we're going to start with a part. And the first thing we want to do is draw a ball. Okay, there we go. So nice blank slate. And so we sketch, and we're going to want to sketch on the front plane. It doesn't really matter for this one which plane you sketch on. And so I'm going to start with my center point arc. So start in the center, make sure that I go straight up or down. I'm going to go down on this one. Sometimes I want to go counterclockwise. Now we could go the other direction if you would like, but it doesn't really matter if we end up on the right or the left. And for any extrusion, we need the shape to be closed. So I'm going to draw a line straight down. And so I want this thing to have a diameter of 4 or a radius of 2. So we have two options. You can dimension the radius over here at 2. Or if we didn't want to do that, we could dimension the line at 4. It doesn't really matter, both give us the same result. Okay, so now we're ready to revolve. So go to my features menu and hit this revolve boss base. And the first thing I'm going to do is select the axis of revolution. So I select that, and we want 360 degrees. Now I can change that by going down here, and we'll end up with half ball if we did 180. So you should be able to see that. It's a half ball, but I do want 360. So we are going to make a full ball at 360 degrees and hit check. And that's a nice ball, but we recently learned how to make them even more interesting. So I'm going to make it chrome and brush chrome and drag that over to my Revolve and drop that on to make a pretty little ball. Or we can try a different color. How about copper? So we're going to put that as copper, just for the fun of it. You don't have to colorize it or texture it, but it can be kind of fun. Okay, so now we do a save as, and I'm going to call this homework 606 ball. Okay, that's fun. And you might want to close these as we go, just so you don't run out of memory. But I'm just going to leave it open. So we are going to now want to open up a new part to be our inner ring of our ball bearing. And of course, I'm going to sketch again and open up the sketch. And of course, that's going to be on the front plane. So here I want to draw in some center lines just so we can get oriented. And what we're going to do is kind of like make a donut. So I want to, I'm going to draw a rectangle that's offset over there in space using my center rectangle. So I'm going to select a point on here. It doesn't really matter what point. In fact, I prefer no point in particular. And since we want to make a donut, I want the distance between the edge of my rectangle and the center of that donut to be 8 millimeters. So I'm going to hit Smart Dimension, select the right side of that rectangle, hold down Control, select that center line, and we're going to dimension that at 8. Okay, now I need to dimension this rectangle. So the top here is going to be, we must have that line selected. So get out Smart Dimension if that happens. Then we'll redo that. And that we want to have be 1.8 millimeters. And then this is going to be 6 millimeters. Okay, that looks good. So exit smart dimension, and now I want to revolve that to get our nice donut shape. We're in dimension zone. Anyway, so we revolve, and it brings it kind of angle, and we want to revolve around this axis. And so it's a nice revolve, and hit check mark. And I have a nice donut shape. So I can click anywhere in here to get rid of that view of the sketch. But now I've lost my axis. And if I don't want to keep redrawing the axis because I want to keep revolving things, there's a way to get a kind of a permanent axis, and that is with reference geometry. So here I insert an axis. And to do that, I need to select which intersections I want. So we have lots of different options. We just want a one axis at the intersection of the front plane and the right plane. You see my yellow axis is drawn in there, and that will help us do any more revolutions around that direction that we want to do. And we are going to do several. So I want to put that in there. So next we're going to cut out the grooves for both a top plate, bottom plate, and the center groove for the actual ball bearings. So to do that, I need another sketch, and open sketch. And I want to draw on the front plane. I could also draw on the right plane, but since I drew originally on the front plane, I'm just going to go with that. And to make my life a little easier, I'm going to go away with a wireframe drawing. And here you can see that these hidden lines indicate that the there's a hole cut in the center of this thing. So we're going to zoom to area. I'm going to look at the left side here. Actually, not quite that zoomed in. Should draw a couple of center lines first. So from here all the way out to here, it's a nice center line for me to work with. Okay, so now we zoom in. And the first thing I'm going to do is draw the groove for the actual ball bearings. So I'm going to use a center point arc again. But since the center of those balls is going to be outside of here quite a bit, I'm going to just select the center of that arc on that center line and then go up to a point that's intersecting and then down to here, because I'm actually going to mirror it across. Okay, of course I need to dimension that. So to dimension that, I select the center point and I hold down my control key, select the edge of that, and we want that just 1 millimeter away. And we want the radius of this to be the same as the ball bearings, which was again 2 millimeters. And then we are going to move this down. So to end up with a finished shape, I'm just going to draw a line down like that. Okay. Now I want to do another center point arc, but we're going to center it up here. So select the center again, select up, and it's wanting to go the other direction. So if you don't want to futz with it, we can also start at the bottom. So hit escape, not circle, center point arc. So select on the line, select down, and then we can go counterclockwise around. And again, we should dimension it first. So we want to dimension this at 0.25. So 0.25, just a little cutout if we wanted to put a little plate to hold those ball bearings in. That's going to be a little rough to get a line in there. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit and put my line on here. It looks like that point is off a little bit, like not right on there, and that is going to give SOLIDWORKS a fit. So we're going to delete that. Yes, I want to delete it, and we're going to try again now that we are zoomed in. Okay, so we zoom in here, go, we learned that we should go to the bottom. Okay, it's just not happy with me today, is it? Okay, center point arc, select down on the intersection, come back up, hit the intersection. Again, we want that radius to be 0.25. I'm going to draw a line straight down to close off that shape, because again, all shapes that are extruded or extrude cut need to be fully closed. So we're going to zoom in again, and we need to dimension where that is from the center line, and that's 2.5 from the center line. So again, I'm going to select the center point for that arc and hit the control key and dimension down. I didn't take it for some reason. I need to zoom in a little bit more to really get the center point of that arc. Okay, you see it turned orange. I have that, control, hold down the control key, and then select line. And we got 2 pretty close, but not quite on, so 2.5. Okay, that looks awesome. And I know I want to mirror this at 2D sound, so zoom out, and then zoom back into just that side, so I can select those. And we're going to go up here to mirror entities, and I want to mirror about the center line. And the easy way to select all of those things is just to pretend to put a box around all of them. They're all selected and they're mirrored right down. Okay, that looks fabulous. Now I want to go back to my normal view, so I can still see those, but I'm going to be able to see the cut now too. So now I can use this Revolve cut tool, and I want to go around that axis that I just made. So I'm going to clear that, right click and clear that selection. And then from this feature menu inside my drawing area, I can select the axis. And now you can see that there's lines indicating that we're cutting a groove in the side of our part here. So, okay, that all looks good. So hit check. And now we can admire our handiwork, that we can rotate the view and see that it's nice, has nicely cut out grooves. Okay, so let's say I want to color this again. So I'm going to make the cutout in the inside nice shiny chrome. And I'm going to make the outside something where I can see the texture a little bit easier, galvanized steel. And we're going to drop that on the Revolve. Okay, so I can rotate the view and I can see it all looks nice and fine. Okay. So not too hard of a part, but we want to do a save as on that guy too. And I'm going to call this inner ring. So homework 6 inner ring. So I'm going to call that. I've done this multiple times, so I guess I'm going to save over that one because this is my nicest one yet. Okay. All right, so that's that part. Now we need the outer ring. So another new part for the outer ring. Okay, that looks lovely. And we're going to be basically doing the same thing. We're going to draw in the center lines and then be able to dimension this, and just trying to get to my notes on the right dimensions. Okay, there we go. So we're going to do basically the same thing here. So sketch again on the front plane. I'm going to put in some center lines to make our life a little easier for drawing. So drawing the vertical center line and a horizontal center line. I'm going straight across here. And another rectangle. Let's draw on that center line there somewhere with the center right on there. Okay, that looks fabulous. Okay, again, dimension, I'm going to go to the inside of this rectangle, hold down the control and go to that vertical center line. And this one I want to be 12. And then the dimensions of the box are the same as they were. So it's 1.8. Oops, still going from there. Now I don't care what that number is. Okay. So when that happens, just keep hitting escape button and it'll go away. So 1.8 on that guy. And then we're going to have a 6 on this guy. Okay, that is beautiful. But I'm going to do the cuts a little differently just to show you another different way to do this. We're actually going to cut out those grooves before we extrude it, so we don't have to do a separate cut for those. So I'm going to zoom in on that. And there's pros and cons to doing it both ways. So there's not really a right or wrong way to do it. Okay, so I'm going to draw that same center point arc here. Again, starting off, going up to the intersection here and coming down. And again, we want to have this one out. So down the control key and then hit the center of that and the edge of this. And we want that one out. Not sure I did that on the other part. but then we want to smart dimension the radius of this to be 2, so our ball fits in there just perfectly. Okay, so that is nice. If I tried to extrude this and then just vertically around, it's going to say, why is there a line in the middle of our part? So we got to get rid of these extra lines out here. This is where the trim comes into play. So trim that line. What am I doing? Trim, and then I'm going to select this line and this line. And you'll notice those 2 lines disappear. I was a little confused because my dimension's in here, but those 2 lines did in fact disappear. So I hit escape to get out of there, and then I want to cut on this other little grooves. So again, I use my center point arc. I want to be zoomed in a little bit because we discovered that last time. Okay, so center point arc. So hit the line somewhere. This one I think I want to hit the top, then the bottom. Line little circle, and again at 0.25. Okay, and I want to zoom out a little bit. Okay, let me hit escape, get out of the dimensioning tool. So zoom out just a little bit till I can see that center line. Because I want to go from dimension from the center of this cutout, hold down Control, hit this line, and that gives me the 2.5 that I need. Okay, fine, little cutout. And then I can do trim entities on this guy again. So trim out that section. And I'm going to use the same trick to mirror that down. So zoom out, then zoom in just that section, mirror entities. And I'm just going to be able to mirror that arc down. Unless I'm going to have to cut it again, but at least I don't have to dimension again. So I'm going to zoom in on that bottom part and hit the trim. So we're going to trim out that area. So hit the check mark, zoom out again, and now we want to use the revolve feature again. So revolve about the center line that we drew, and we have a nice donut shape again with the cutouts already in it that we don't have to do. One of the cons is I don't have another feature to be able to drop the colors onto, so I have to color everything the same. So we're going to use brushed galvanized steel again. Okay, so that looks absolutely beautiful, but you can see that the inside is also brushed galvanized. So we can't have a different texture on the inside if we don't have a different feature to associate with the inside of our part. So we do a save as. And this is going to be the outer ring, ever so creatively named. Okay, so now we have all of our parts and we can start the assembly process with this guy. So the next thing we need to do is open up a assembly. So come on. So we want a new assembly. Hit OK. Okay, here we have new assembly, and since I have the parts open, they're already populated here, and I really want to start with the inner ring. So we are going to drop that in, and that kind of defines the locations for our materials. Now, if I wanted to try to move this guy, not moving. Everything is going to be referenced to where that guy is. Okay, so now we want to insert the next component, which is going to be our outer ring. I'm going to drop that in here just by clicking somewhere. So they're obviously not lined up. And the first thing we need to do is mate them together. So the first mate I want to do is concentric. And we want, you can pick any of these circles, it doesn't really matter, but I like to pick the outside of the inner ring and the inside edge of the outer ring. But again, it doesn't matter. Just pick some of the circles that need to be concentric. The check mark. And then I'm going to hit escape again and rotate this a little bit so you can see that they're a little off, so they're not quite on level. Or if they look like they are, we can move them away so you can see that they're not on level. So that mate I want to make is going to be a coincident of the top of this guy and the top of that guy, and that moves that outer ring up so that they stay exactly in line with each other. Okay, so that is lovely. And now we want to put those little balls in. So those are easiest to drop in if we are looking at the top view. And I can do the insert components and balls. You might need to browse for them, hitting this and browsing for the balls that you just created. But I have it here, so I can select it and I can drop one of those in. Kind of nice, pretty copper colored. And so I want to locate it. Originally what I had done was use the tangent mate between the ball and the inside of the ring. That doesn't seem to work in this version of SOLIDWORKS as well. So we have found a better way to do that. So we want to basically make a path of a path for the balls to follow by sketching that path on this configuration. So sketch. And here I don't want to sketch on the planes defined by these ones, because we'll see if I sketch on the top plane here. And I'll go ahead and do that so you can see that why that doesn't work. And I want to do a circle. I'm not going to bother dimensioning or anything because we'll sort of see where that circle is. So if I rotate my view, we're going to see that that circle is not in the ring. So if I mate to that circle, it's not going to be the right place. Okay, so hit escape and rebuild. And I want to delete that sketch because I don't want that ring. It is not in the right spot. Okay, you can see that my ball's not in the right spot either. So I'm going to hit the top view again, but this time I want to put the circle on a plane that is in the middle of our build here. Okay, so we go to sketch, open up a new sketch, and if you see in our drawing feature menu, within our drawing window, you can actually see we have the individual parts. So since everything is referenced to the inner ring, I want to select the top plane of that inner ring. Okay, that's lovely. So we're going to sketch that circle again, starting at the origin of that inner ring and moving our way out. And we want that to be for construction, and like everything else, we want to dimension that. Whoops, not draw more rings, smart dimension. So if it's drawing more rings, just hit the escape key. And so we want to dimension this at a radius of 22. Will be right in the middle of those two rings. That is lovely. So if I rotate the view, we can see that that sketch is in fact right in the middle and a good path for a ball to follow. Okay, so we're going to exit that sketch. So that sketch is still there. And now I want to go back to the assembly and I want to mate that the center of that ball to that ring. So I'm going to select that ring and coincident. And how do I select the center of that ball? Well, the origin of that ball is in the center of that ball. So again, I'm going to expand this tree. I don't want that one. I want the ball. And we can actually select the origin of that ball needs to follow that ring. So that should work just fine. Hit the check mark button. And X, so we don't need to make any more mates. Now, so if I go to move components, I can move the outer ring. So you should be able to see, especially with that texture, that that outer ring is moving. But it's darn hard to select that ball at this zoom level. So I'm going to zoom in and select that ball, show you that the ball does in fact move about the ring. So keep hitting escape until the move component is unselected. And you should be able to select the ball and move the ball around. You'll notice that the ball doesn't really rotate. It just kind of moves around the ring. And I don't know how to put friction in here so the ball actually like rolls, but it's close enough. Okay, but we only have one ball, and a ball bearing is not going to work with just one ball in it. So we're going to add balls. So we can either add those individually and then keep doing the mates, and then each of the balls will move individually. Or we can go with the easier option, and you'll notice that this has linear pattern. So if we select down, we just see it has a circular pattern. So we can circular pattern those balls. they will retain all the mates. So the components to pattern is down here. We want to make copies of the balls, and we want to have a direction to go into. And if you remember, when we made that inner ring, we put that axis of rotation in there. So we can actually use that again here to pattern the balls. And you see that we have 2 balls, and we want equal spacing selected so that they'll space equally. If you don't have that, then we'll have to specify the angle is 15 degrees. We'd rather have them equally spaced. And so we can just keep going up until we fill up our ring with balls. Looks like I can get 14, maybe 16 in there. 16 looks like the maximum I can get in there comfortably. And then hit the check mark button. And so I have a nice looking ball bearing. But again, I can go up here to move components and get things to rotate. So this rotates the outer ring. Escape to get out of that. We gotta select a ball and zoom in to get the balls rotating. But move components, and we got the balls, so you can see all the balls move around the ring all at once in lovely fashion. So that is a ball bearing. Go ahead and save that. So rebuild and save. I'm going to call that ball bearing. That's my multiple times I've done that, so I'm just going to call this one too. Okay, it looks like an absolutely done ball bearing, and looks gorgeous. So turn that in and then finish the homework for next week, and that will be the Revolve tool.